You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of The Bearcast, presented and a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. This episode is sponsored by Blue Wire Hustle. If you are trying to hustle, make sure you are hustling with Blue Wire. Rob, we are here. It is Monday in March. How about that? Guess what we're not going to be enjoying in March? A lot of basketball. Men's basketball, that is, and women's basketball, but mainly the ire is at men's basketball. But what's going on with you, Rob? How you doing?
We're now approaching the 1-year mark of the pandemic. This past weekend was the weekend that we launched the Right for California website, literally a year ago. Our launch party was on February 29th, and we were supposed to launch like this the first week of March. So it's been a year. And it's crazy how it's already been a year.
Does that make it 1 year that we've been on Blue Wire then?
I haven't checked the actual date, but I think it's somewhere right around here. Hopefully it's not this episode, so we can actually celebrate the anniversary.
Could be. Sometimes you don't get to choose.
Sometimes we definitely do not. But we're here nonetheless. We're talking about some Cal news. Not much to go over this week, but we figure we might as well keep up the content for all you cool cats and kittens that are listening out there to our podcast. So we're back, and we're talking. So let's get right to it. Let's start with some very good news. Got some, the first thing, the undefeated women's swimming and diving team headed to the Pac-12 championships this past weekend. And Andy, what do you think happened to the undefeated women's swimming and diving team this past weekend?
I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say they kept their undefeatedness.
Yeah, they are the Pac-12 champions. They defeated Stanford, UCLA, USC, Utah, Arizona, Washington State. It was over. They won. And congrats to them.
Now, do you remember when we were in school?
Yes.
Capital One used to actually sponsor it was like the total number of championships that a team, that a school won. Does anyone still care about that, or did they just not really anymore?
No, I think that's still a thing.
Okay.
I just don't know if it's still Capital One.
We used to be really good, like top 10.
Yeah. Every year, consistently. Yeah, consistently. Who knows? Maybe we're in the running for that again this year, because we have some other sports to talk about around the Cal fandom. This is all news from this past weekend. Cal men's swimming beats Stanford in the final regular season tune-up, which means that they're also headed to the Pac-12 champions, looking to repeat. According to our writer Ray, the Bears stayed perfect in dual meets this year with the win, and also extended their dual meet winning streak to 14 straight, dating back to 2018. The Golden Bears will look to repeat as Pac-12 champions next week before battling Texas for the NCAA crown the week after that. RightForCalifornia.com will have you covered for all things men's and women's swimming at the NCAA National Championships. Next
Now,
thing. Oh, go ahead.
Before next thing, men's and women swimming, diving,
Yep.
and water polo,
Yes.
traditionally fall sports, right?
Traditionally, I believe so, yes.
And they've been pushed due to pandemic.
Same with, I believe, soccer, which is playing right now as well. Which
Yeah,
is
soccer's definitely a fall sport. Yeah.
And then, of course, baseball just started up too. But they're a spring sport. So
Yeah, pretty cool that they're back on campus, and yeah, from what we've heard, no big major outbreaks or anything like that. So
no. Some other sports news. Number 1, Cal men's water polo defeats rivals UCLA and USC. So that's good. They're back on top. They will be the top seed at the MPSF championship next weekend. Cal would need one more win, semis versus USC or third place match, to secure a spot at the NCAA championship. That only has room for 3 out of Cal, UCLA, USC, and Stanford. The Bears have beaten all of their rivals at least once in 2021. So one win over this next week, and they got a shot.
rolling right now.
Some tennis news for you, Andy. Number 17 Cal women's tennis beats number 3 UCLA and UC Santa Barbara.
Let's go. Love that.
4-3. 4-3
that's close.
against
That's so fun.
UCLA, and 6-1 against UCSB.
So the SB batch is blowout, but I don't know how many tennis fans we have in here, but college tennis is an absolute blast if you haven't been to a live tennis match. But the way it generally shakes out is you have a bunch of singles matches and then 2 flights of doubles. Mm-hmm. So and it all ladders up, I believe, so I think it would be 5 singles, 2 doubles.
Yeah.
And it generally, when you have a match that's like 4-3, you're coming down to what's called like a final court. And that means that, it's kind of winner take home, has all of the excitement. And if you have fans in the stands, you have a lot of oozahs, big celebrations, devastating moments, all that good stuff. So when we get back to normal, I hope that anyone that hasn't had that opportunity to go out and watch, or, if you have kids that are getting into tennis and you've never really considered seeing it live at the collegiate level, it's a ton of fun. And the Hellman courts are great seating. I used to go back when I was in college, and I traveled out to Stanford to watch the men's team play USC in the tournament, and I just had a ton of fun with those guys. So both support the guys, gals, great teams, great people. Go Bears.
Yeah. The women's team is now moved up from 17th to 12th after that weekend.
That's huge.
They're moving on up. Number 9, Cal women's gymnastics sets new season high at Oregon State. Not bad. Cal women's water polo wins 2 matches this past week. Cal men's gymnastics beat Springfield College. Sorry, I'm running through a bunch of these just because they're I don't want to say they're insignificant, but they're not like, they're advancing to the NCAA tournament. Like, it's just, they're like regular season victories, right?
It's very good news.
It's very good news. Cross country opens up with a win with women's, or they didn't take a win. It was women's finishing second and men's finishing third. It was their first. And then women's basketball, of course, they had that upset win over Arizona State, which was huge, with Leilani McIntosh. I believe we talked about it last week. But yeah, that was a good capper to the season. Women's softball team beat St. Mary's College with a walk-off, which that's always fun whenever you. And then the men's baseball team, just the baseball team, they had a walk-off victory against Pacific in their season opener. It's all about the walk-offs, baby. All about the walk-offs. If you haven't seen the walk-off yet, it's on Cal Baseball's Twitter from February 20th, and it's a little video that you can go see. It's really cool because it's from behind the plate, and you can see the swing, you can see the ball go out, and like they know they won, and everyone's cheering and having fun. So, Evans Diamond, Our very own Owen Kaminsky on Right for California, he's got that covered over there. So he'll be there for most of the home games.
Where are we at in regards to Andrew Vaughn watch with the White Sox?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
He's ranked on MLB.com as the number one prospect in their system with an ETA of 2021 this year at first base.
Do they have a first baseman? I know.
Yeah, Jose Abreu.
Yeah. So they were I know they were log jammed at first base. I think when they drafted him, and that's why people were like, "Why are they drafting him?" I mean, I guess they were taking the best player on the board, but they were like, they don't have a really need for him.
Yeah, they could move Abreu to DH though because it's AL.
Yeah.
But I mean that's crazy because I mean their number 2 is Michael Kopech. Can't remember how to say that. It's once I'm in fantasy baseball swing, I'll get the name right.
Yeah.
And then Nick Madrigal, who's a big prospect for them too. So and he's number 1.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm looking at an article on Fansided for the White Sox website, and apparently, and this was posted 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
Jose Abreu did not arrive at camp with everyone else due to COVID-19. It was a cause for minor concern. Despite being asymptomatic, the Chicago White Sox were forced to spend the first couple of days of spring training without their MVP first baseman. That's why Vaughn has been getting the opportunity to get the majority of the first team reps at first base. And apparently he rose to the occasion and people took notice. The White Sox have made it clear the mentality is World Series or bust. I'm not too sure about that, but okay. Vaughn has only played 55 professional games yet to experience the step up and fill the void at designated hitter position. That's a tall task for a 22-year-old kid, yet he seems unfazed. The White Sox released a video of Vaughn in the cage launching 6 consecutive bombs.
Sheesh.
This is cool. Tony La Russa had this to say about Vaughn. First of all, if it's in a cage or he's taking live batting practice, and I'm sure it would be the same in a game. He doesn't ever step in there when he's not ready to do damage. He's got that hitter's attitude. Second, he has no fear. And third, he works left center, right center, which is what high average hitters do. Produce a lot of RBIs, a lot of home runs. They start a lot of rallies. In other words, what I'm saying is very impressive. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Really hope he gets traded to the Giants. Really hope.
You're going to have to give up a lot to get their number 1 prospect.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Handing off a B-Craw?
I mean, okay, so here's what could conceivably happen. Giants have signed a bunch of really good, like, 1-year deals with, like, people like Scott Kazmir. You know, like, okay, Kazmir, like, he clocked in 93 to 95.
It's been 84 years.
So it's like we've signed a bunch of these dudes like Aaron Sanchez, like just a lot of players that could, maybe they were in San Francisco, they pitched well. All
Low
right,
risk
and then
gambles.
at the deadline, we can be, shopping, and then maybe you get somebody like the White Sox if they really think they can push World Series this year, which obviously they're trying to go to if they hire Tony La Russa. Maybe you get them to bite on something like that. It's very, 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 very optimistic thinking. But you never know. Like, who knows? Maybe Crawford breaks out, or maybe Brandon Belt has a career year and we finally trade him.
And you get Andrew Vaughn. You'd buy that jersey in an instant. Like, you would, like, as soon as the trade.
I'd go next level. I'd get the retro Cal jersey, dude. That'd be epic.
I think you wore number 20 at Cal. Yeah.
Perfect. My favorite number. Match made in heaven. All right. Let's review this in July, and we'll see if the Giants... Come on, Farhan. Farhan's a Cal guy, right? Or no, MIT. Damn.
Yeah.
So close. But nonetheless.
Other side of the country, but close enough.
Feels like a Cal guy.
Oh, shoot.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see. But something we are looking forward to seeing is our boy...
PhD, UC Berkeley. I knew it was there.
So he is a Cal guy.
I knew it was there.
He is a Cal guy.
I knew it was there. Right. Yeah, he's going to make it happen.
Let's hope that he trades for a Cal guy.
I'm going to put in some calls. Farhan and I will get on the phone. We'll talk strategy.
Yeah.
Aaron Sanchez, Scott Kazmir for Andrew Vaughn, straight up in July. You heard it here first.
I just imagine you as like the Jonah Hill character in Moneyball, just like on the
Yeah.
phone next to Farhan. Yes.
They went for it.
Well, a better pivot here is one thing we are looking forward to seeing, and it's actually really happening. Jaylen Brown was selected to his first All-Star game of his career. So he
Kind of
wasn't
crazy.
He wasn't listed as a starter. He received 1,400,416 votes, which put him at 5th in the Eastern Conference guards. So he wasn't voted in automatically, but he was picked as a reserve by the coaches. Just some reasons why he's picked is he's having a career. He's 13th in the league. 13th in the league in scoring at 25.7 points per game, 23rd in the league in player efficiency rating at 22.05, and he's averaging career highs in points, assists, 3-point percentage, which is a blistering 40.2% from 3, and is career highs also in field goal percentage and free throw percentage. We're not sure if he's going to be on Team LeBron or I don't know who the other team captain is. Is it Kevin Durant? I can't remember. Or is it Giannis? I can't remember. But we're not sure which team he's playing on. But that draft is happening on March 4th, which is in a couple days, and the All-Star game is happening this coming weekend on March 7th. I never thought I'd see the day. I always hoped I would see the day, but it's finally here. I honestly believe we're going to have a perennial all-star for like the next 4 or 5 years in Jaylen. I don't see that drop-off coming anytime soon.
Yeah, in some ways it sort of feels shocking that it hasn't already happened with his ascent sort of coming, I think, last year and the year before. But for sure, I mean, he's been unbelievable this year. So it's the beginning. And I think it points to one. It's just kind of crazy to me that Ivan Rabb is he even in the developmental league somewhere?
Yeah, he's in the G League with the Delaware. I can't remember what the name is, but it's the 76ers' G League team.
So it's like we thought Ivan was going to be, really the guy, like one of the main, NBA prospects, and then Jaylen obviously kind of came in at the last minute and was just kind of out of this world that we got him to come to Cal. But it does feel like we need to take advantage in major ways if we can as a program, because that doesn't happen all the time. And to get someone like that's performing at that, I mean, it's huge. He's such a good dude, such a fun guy to root for.
Yeah, it just sucks with Ivan because I think for him it's just his skill set. He was on like the cusp of like a change in style in the NBA, whereas Jaylen fit the mold perfectly as he became this 6'7", 6'8" forward who can guard basically 1 through 4, especially if you play a smaller lineup, and in that positionless basketball and the 3-point shooting as a guard, whereas Ivan didn't really have that, and it passed him by. But I mean, he's still young. He still has time to make it to the league. He's still in the G League. The Knicks picked him up after the Grizzlies let him go. Clearly, people still think like he has the potential to play in the NBA. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sticking around the G League like this. He tried to apply his trade, overseas or whatnot. Because I think he could dominate if he went overseas. But he wants.
And what happened with Jabari Bird? Like, have we ever really gotten the after the domestic violence, right?
Yeah, it just like, I think it just kind of faded in the background, or it's just like still waiting trial dates.
Right.
It's just one of those situations, but yeah. So yeah, and like Ty Wallace is still trying to get in the league. He's with the Clippers G League team. So these guys are still trying to make it as a pro.
One player on our existing team strikes me as someone who will be able to play at the next level. if you're doing your draft hat, where do you think they'll go?
So the thing with, so I know you're alluding to Matt Bradley, and the thing with Matt is that he's 6'4", which is undersized for a shooting guard or small forward, but that's the style he plays, and he hasn't played as a point guard here at Cal. So he doesn't have the skill set to be a point guard. At least I don't know that he has, because we haven't seen him play as a point guard. But the defense is there, the mental aspect of the game is there, his 3-point shooting is there, and like his body type is there, right? He's built like a tank. But the thing is, one, he hasn't gotten the exposure because he's on such a bad team. But also at the same time, when he's playing against the bigger teams, which is where the scouts are at, you would think that he would get some notice. But clearly it hasn't translated into that, because he's not on any draft boards. He's not on any of the major like NBA draft boards. So like that you find on the internet, like NBADraft.net and some of the other ones. He's just not there. So
is he projected to leave though? I don't think he was projected to leave.
Well, I mean, he can't. I mean, you can leave whenever you want, right? And if it's a guy who's 5th in the scoring in the league, you'd think that he'd get some looks.
Yeah.
It's just not there. So I do wonder what he's going to decide to do. I hope he's back, but I wouldn't put it like, I wouldn't be upset if he decided to leave, and get some more exposure somewhere else. I don't think he's the type of guy to just like leave like that. He's already stuck around here for 3 years, despite losing every single year. But I mean, who knows? Maybe he does. Maybe he wants a change of scenery. I mean, you can't help but think of like him looking at what Justice is doing, or any of the other guys like that have transferred elsewhere and are thriving, and getting looks at the NCAA tournament and getting to play at a high level. Like you have to think there's a bit of him that wants to do that too.
So your analysis is not sure if he's in round 1 or round 2.
I mean, yeah, just judging by, because I mean, I trust those like NBADraft.net and all those draft guys a lot more than my head. I honestly think his skill set is perfect for the NBA, because he shoots threes. He's a guard who is very good defensively already. I think he could be a second rounder easy, but he also has to test well, right? Like, I think his wingspan might be a little bit larger than you'd think it actually is. But yeah, 6'4", a 6'4" off guard is not something that you want in the NBA right now, especially when you're asked to guard multiple positions. Like, just knowing that Jalen's like 6'7", 6'8", right? So if Jalen's playing shooting guard for the Boston Celtics and Matt's playing shooting guard, for some other team, like Jalen can do a lot more defensively than Matt can.
Right.
Speaking of guys who can do a lot more, Mr. Colin Morikawa, going back to Cal Golf here, wins the WGC Workday Championship, his 4th PGA Tour victory. He also took home little over $1.8 million in prize money. It's incredible. Him and Max Homa in back-to-back weeks, Cal guys taking home PGA tournament victories. It's like unheard of. And then did you see the Max Homa tweet?
Yeah.
That this is it golf for you? And then Morikawa quote tweeted, he's like, "Go Bears." I thought that was awesome. And then there were so many people that like retweeted and quote tweeted that. Like it was like Mitchell Schwartz had something on it. Ron Rivera had something on it. Mike Silver had something on it. Like it was crazy. And watch his thing. It's super cool. And there's also a video clip with his coach Walter Chun, who's the Cal golf coach. And this is a hot take. This is a hot take now. He said the one thing that you don't know about Colin is that he puts his milk first before he puts his cereal in, because he wants his cereal to be crispy.
That is insane.
Who puts milk first before their cereal? It makes no sense to me at all. It makes no sense.
That's so wild.
That doesn't make sense.
2 points from Gryffindor. That's not good at all.
It's not.
That's great though. Yeah, I got a couple of texts. It's like Cal golf school now. I was
Yeah.
like, I guess.
Yeah.
We are doing so well in the non money, quote unquote money sports. Hey, why not embrace it? I mean, you could have a worse reputation. So these guys going out, crushing it, representing the university well. It's awesome. So
I mean,
yeah,
look
big wins.
in the PGA alone, it's Colin, it's Max, Ben On, James Hahn, Michael Kim, Brandon Hagee. They're all PGA Tour guys, right? And I need to say 3 of which are Koreans. So but Ray also listed like some of the wins over the last few years, like James Hahn, Northern Trust Open 2015, James Hahn Wells Fargo Championship in 2016, Michael Kim John Deere Classic in 2018. Max Homa Wells Fargo Championship 2019, Colin Morikawa Barracuda Championship 2019, Workday Charity Open 2020, PGA Championship in 2020, Max Homa the Genesis Invitational, which was that last week, 2021, Colin Morikawa this one. So we've won quite a bit over the last like 5 years or so, mostly over the last like 2 years, but it's cool. It's cool to see that these guys like applied their trade here, and they turned pro, and they're really good.
Yeah, and it's not easy to make the tour in and of itself. So that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it for some very good news. There's no bad news today. So we move on to the bulk of our conversation, which is a couple things, but I think it's going to be pretty short and sweet. First thing is Cal spring football started up last Wednesday. Woohoo! Spring football looks. No media is allowed in, so it's basically turned into closed practice like the Tedford years. But we do get some glimpses on the Instagram page, the Twitter page, with like the videos that they've been putting up. And one interesting one that we saw today was Mike Safel running the running back drill of ball security, which was like what? Why is he running that? But I'm pretty sure it was just for like fumble reasons. That was my take. But some notes, some key notes, was that Tevin Paul has moved on from football, according to Coach Wilcox. That was announced last week. Wilcox said he became a dang good player for us, and he hoped to see Paul return to Memorial Stadium as an alum. He also said fullback H-back isn't listed on the roster, but he reaffirmed that there'd be no major changes in Musgrave's usage of fullbacks. He hinted that there's a plan in place to test certain players in that role. He also quoted in saying Gavin Reinwald's a guy that can do some of those things. On defense, he said that Trey Pastor has shifted to inside linebacker. We thought that Trey, because of his build, he might put on weight really easy, and he's gone up 10 pounds from the fall to 225. We played him last year at our star position, which is really an outside linebacker, and we're giving him reps at inside linebacker. The next thing is last fall, 2 other freshmen, Jeremiah Hunter and Stanley McKenzie, garnered praise during practice but can stay healthy during the season. Wilcox confirmed that both are healthy and are back on the field to start spring ball. They're part of a larger group of young players that Wilcox believes will have a spring that is incredibly important to them. And apparently, Jeremiah Hunter had a monster grab on Saturday, according to Bill Musgrave. So those are some of the comments from Justin Wilcox. Of course, our own Owen Kaminsky is doing all our press conferences. So I'm just going through some of the real quick quotes here. From Musgrave, he says the quarterbacks are battling, trying to get better. He said that it's the Princeton education and the NFL experience of Christ that drew Musgrave's attention when filling the position, with Musgrave saying, I got a lot smarter as the coach the day we hired Jeep. Did you know this? Did you know that Jeep Christ also helped found a Silicon Valley company that focuses on game analytics?
No.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. So he's a big guy on on advanced analytics and stats, and that's like one of the things he's going to bring to the table. But I also had no idea that he actually helped found like a sports analytics company, which is I think super cool.
You know the name? Do you know the name?
I do not know the name, but that's something that we could easily find out.
Yeah.
He said also backup QB remains unclear, but he was hesitant, and Musgrave was hesitant to talk about the order in the practice and said everybody's getting to play. He doesn't anticipate naming one until fall camp. And then also he said
Is that a starter or backup?
Backup.
What about starter?
Starter cemented as Chase. They haven't fielded or made it an open competition.
Okay.
I mean, someone could blow Chase out of the water, but I think they're gonna stick to that Chase is our starter thing. And then Sermon talked about Trey Pastor's acceptance to the inside linebacker role, and they said he'll explore a couple different options. In terms of Coin Dang's placement on the field, he says packages are yet to be determined. There was a specific package that you saw in the YouTube or the Twitter and IG accounts with it was pictures with Coin Dang on one side, Cam Good on the other, and then Tattersall at inside linebacker, and then there was someone else at inside linebacker. I couldn't tell. It's probably Isefa or maybe even Trey Pastor. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then just some last quotes from today before I get your thoughts, Andy. Wilcox, we got Wilcox again today. They asked about Jermaine Terry. He said the freshman is learning at a rapid pace. He says also the team as a collective this year gained 647 pounds in the offseason. That's insane.
And 90% of it was in Evan Tattersall's belly.
We should have laughed, but I also at the same time I know by the time spring football is over, that belly's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
You know what I mean? It's
gone.
yeah, they're gonna work him to it's just the amount of calories he's burning.
That's just one of those quotes that if the players do listen,
yeah. We're sorry, but you can't blame us. You got to blame the guy who took the picture. You definitely got to blame them. It wasn't a good angle. Also, at right tackle, the Bears haven't determined a starter yet. Daltoso, Cindric, and Craig have all received snaps. Wilcox says to expect the DB announcement, quote unquote, soon, but reiterates that he doesn't want to rush the process. Wilcox is actually coaching the DBs right now with, I think, grad assistant Ryan Condry. And then also, he says freshman Jeremiah Hunter is running at full speed and made a memorable catch down the middle in practice today. Okay, so that was today, not the other day. Wilcox says that Brett Johnson has been paying a lot of 4-eye to start off spring ball. Also said that Colin Gamble is playing both nickel and corner, and that Caleb Higgins flashes his tools and just needs to learn little things. Caleb Higgins is the local kid, the DB from Sacramento that everyone seems to love. Some other outs. General Williams is out for the spring. This is kind of funny to me just because last week when we were talking to Wilcox, he said that no one was out for spring ball. They had some day-to-day stuff, but no one was out. And then within a 5-day span, we immediately have outs. So General Williams is out. He says Ethan Saunders and Curly Young are currently injured. Aaron Maldonado also out for spring ball. So that's 4 guys currently out for spring ball. And I believe that is it. That's all. So, any of those quotes or talking points stand out to you, Andy?
Nope. The only thing that stands out to me is one picture. And that picture is of Jermaine Terry. Holy shit. That guy is huge.
Yeah.
He is going to be insane.
Yeah.
He looks like Vernon Davis.
He does. He actually does. Body type wise.
It's, oh my goodness. He's going to be household name.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been as excited for a freshman since Marshawn. That's how excited I am about Jermaine Terry. I try to cool the hype, but after that I was like, oh my goodness. And then everyone's like, he gained weight, and then his coach was like, nah, it's good weight. I'm like, okay. Yeah. It's he's gonna be so good. Oh my goodness. The tight end position is gonna be night and day. I like what they said about with Reinwald potentially playing that H-back, fullback position. I think that makes sense.
He's a good blocker. He's a really good blocker, and he was the primary blocking tight end, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's
and it'll be good. That'll be good for run heavy sets. I think that's a nice option to have. Think about man, I'm very excited. I think it's interesting that the backup QB position is open. I assume that it's Brash and Jaden Casey for that, unless I'm forgetting someone.
Zach Johnson.
Yeah, but
and then Kai coming into the fall.
Yeah. So I think that's I wonder it'd be interesting to sort of see how that plays out. And then can someone actually make a run at Garbers or not? I don't know. But Jeremiah Hunter, I did not know. Like, I think the fact that he had that injury and it was as sounded somewhat serious, and now he's back playing in spring bowl. Like, that's huge. So for those that haven't listened to us or listened to us for the first time, we've been singing praises to Jeremiah Hunter for quite a while, and so is Nam and the Rivals guys. They've kind of pinpointed him as someone who's going to be really good. So that's huge for this team to have that wide receiver, especially where we have losses. So, man,
yeah.
I mean, spring ball is always a good time for like ever building optimism.
Mm-hmm.
But just like the early photos, I did see the video where they put the Kendrick track, from Black Panther, that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do miss the video, guys. I went to USC.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that guy that left, his stuff was dope.
Yeah. I think they're working through it. They'll figure it out. But I do know, like, I think the staff understands the fact that a lot of this stuff also helps them in recruiting and building up hype. So they're definitely gonna get more accustomed to it and like they're gonna take it more seriously. It's not just like an afterthought social media thing. Like they fully understand now it has a huge role within recruiting. But yeah, the fun thing about that Jermaine Terry photo is the thing that me and Peter talked about in the Right for California Slack is Brett Johnson in the background, just standing there with his hands on his hips with a midriff, like fully like Ezekiel Elliott style midriff, just going. He's just standing there. He's like this little kid, like running down the line. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the thing with Jermaine Terry that I guess people don't know the real backstory of our conversations, like behind the scenes, was basically we saw the rosters come out and then we saw his weight increase and we were like, whoa, that dude's been eating. Like, he has been gaining weight. And then we were curious because we were like, all right, how much, like, as an off season, with him not playing high school football like this past year, how much did he actually, like, what could he have possibly done to have gained that weight, like, good weight wise? No, but we were totally wrong because just judging from the photo, it looks like that dude has lived in a weight room. Like, that's all he's done.
It's like when they go to prep for the draft.
Yeah.
It's like pre-draft or like college form Patrick Laird versus pre-draft Patrick Laird. You're like, what the hell has this dude been eating? And
it's like a 2.5 month span, and he like turns into a monster with his physique.
His veins are bigger than my arms, man. Like, this dude is huge.
Yeah.
He's absolutely ripped.
Yeah.
I can't think of a player. Like, Desarte Yarnway had enormous arms. Like, enormous arms. But Jermaine Terry looks that's just super exciting. Hello, all you cool cats and kittens. Before we get started, I want to tell you about Blue Wire Hustle, a brand new program where you can host your very own podcast here at Blue Wire. Hustle was created to give everyone the opportunity to take your podcast to the next level. Or if you want to host a podcast and just don't know where to start, Hustle is the perfect place for you. As a part of the program, you'll receive personal cover art, Q&As with Blue Wire's top podcasters like Rob, access to our community Discord, and an e-learning course full of tips and tricks. And on top of that, we'll help you get your show pushed out to Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and all other listening platforms. And the best part is you can get all of this for only $15 a month, the same rate as any other hosting site would charge you for just the initial setup. Coincidentally, the same rate I pay for SoundCloud Premium. So whether you're starting from scratch or have an existing show that you want to grow, Hustle is an open door to leveling up your sports podcasting experience. Acceptance into the program is limited, so get your application in today. To apply, go to bwhustle.com/join. Check out the description box for this episode to find out more, but that is bwhustle.com/join.
Andy, before we move on, Andy, I want your take on the Trey Pastor stuff, because they moved him down to inside linebacker. There's been photos of Coin taking reps and like practices with the outside linebackers. Like there's a tweet out there or an Instagram video where it like says like, here's our outside linebackers group like going to work, and it's like the first photos of Coin Dang. Right. So I know we're reading too much into it, but what do you think of that move and the potential of, the linebackers kind of maybe potentially being reshuffled or, specific packages?
I think what we saw last season with Coin was a progression, and his best games happened later in the year than his early, he just got better as the season went on. However, if we're looking at like that dude who's a physical freak of nature that I think we've always sort of been thinking about what could he do in that OLB type of position. So overall, I kind of like it, frees him up, and he's just gonna be a nightmare for anyone. If he's gonna rush, like he's just gonna be an absolute force. So I think it's and he's different from like an Evan Weaver. Like Evan Weaver was a bit more all over the field and making a lot of plays kind of in the middle of what I would say in the middle of the field, whereas maybe Coin can be more of a force like actually at the line than Evan Weaver was. And I mean, I like it. I think it's an interesting move. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm just thinking like you have Brett Johnson at nose guard, right? Or even outside, let's say. And then let's say one of the younger guys on the defensive end steps up, right? Like, let's say Achilles steps up, or Derek Wilkins steps up and is able to do some things. Then that gives you some more options, right? And from an offensive coordinator's perspective, like how the hell do you shift your line? Like, if you go with a 5-man front, or a five offensive lineman with no extra help, do you shift? And then you see Coin Dang on one side, and then you see Cam Good on the other, and then you see Brett Johnson in the middle. You have to double team Brett, right? There's no way you're gonna leave him one-on-one with a center or a guard. So if you do that, then who do you leave one-on-one or shift to the outside? Do you shift it to Coin, like who's the athletic freak of nature, or do you shift it to Cam Good, who historically and statistically is our best pass rusher over the last few years, right? Like what do you do? And if you're gonna bring in a tight end, then that limits your passing options. If you're gonna bring him in the block, and then that plays into our favor because we have less people to guard. So I personally like the move. I also thought that maybe this is just like my naive thinking, but like maybe they've seen enough of Coin at inside linebacker. Like they realize like, hey, we know what Coin gives us at inside linebacker. He knows everything down, because he's been working with Sherman. Let's let him get some reps at outside linebacker this spring so we can kind of diversify it. And come in the fall, he'll have gotten a full year's, like 2 years at inside linebacker. And then we also forget he played outside linebacker when he was at Independence, which means that we're just getting him up to speed again at playing outside linebacker. And now that just diversifies how you can use him, either inside or outside. I like it.
And I think with Pastor, because it's been a while since we talked about Trey Pastor, let's remember the schools that were in on him: Oregon, Arizona, UCLA, Utah, Washington, USC.
Mm-hmm.
He had offers from everyone except for SD. This is like 6'3", 190. What, he's 225 now?
Yeah.
Crazy. And, a GA recruit.
Yeah.
This dude probably can ball. And it's going to be exciting. I mean, I think if we can, it could be one of those moves that I think makes a lot of sense, and maybe it works really well, or maybe it doesn't look as good, and then you just rotate back, like what you're saying.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because look, he has all the defensive back like skill set, right? And then he was working with the star position all of last season, which means he has some outside linebacker experience. So, and then now with that frame, you could if his speed translates into pass rush and ability to cover the field, like in that middle area, I think that this could pay dividends in the long run, because you could drop him into coverage and he won't feel awkward dropping into coverage because he's used to it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it, but I want to see it. I want to see it in person. It's just we just can't. Like, I would love to like be out there and watching him take reps at inside linebacker and see like what he's good at. Is he good at dropping back into coverage? Is he comfortable doing that from the linebacker spot? Is he comfortable more being up close in the box? Is he like, does he know how to drop his shoulder and get past guys? Like, does he know what to do? Like, we just don't know. They won't let us in, and for good reason, but they won't let us in.
It's like you go wounded.
It's that like let me in gift. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Let me in.
That is so funny. Yeah. Well, hopefully this season, we'll be able to be there.
Yep, I concur. The last thing we're going to talk about today before we move on to your fan questions, we're not talking about basketball today because next week we have a very special basketball end of the season recap pod with some guests. So be on the lookout for that. But our last little story tidbit and conversation today is going over John Wilner's article that dropped, I believe, last week, which was about Cal Athletics turning a profit in the fiscal year 20 thanks to a massive assist from Central Campus. This is from his article. Cal's latest financial report includes two jaw-dropping but interconnected numbers. The Bears finished the 2020 fiscal year with a $3.2 million surplus in a pandemic, but received $25.1 million in university support that was booked as revenue. Both numbers were on counter to established norms in Berkeley, where huge and year-end shortfalls and steep faculty resistance to athletics are as commonplace as gluten-free options. The $25.1 million in direct institutional aid represents a six-fold increase over the average from the 5 previous years, and there's coming loads more. The enormous assist from Central Campus is part of a long-term strategy crafted by Chancellor Carol Christ and Athletic Director Jim Knowlton to eventually corral the Bears' unbalanced budget. The plan was discussed with Academic Senate in the interest of cross-campus transparency. Christ explained her support in a letter to the campus community that was published more than a year ago. You can find that on the Cal Bears website. But I don't think I need to go into more specific numbers. But basically, the stadium renovation basically put us in the red, like real deep into the red. And we've been struggling trying to make payments on that debt. But finally, when Chris came in, they were like, we're a part of the same like campus and university. We're going to help each other out. And they started to invest. I don't want to say invest, but they just started to help each other out. And now we're in the green. You got any thoughts on this, Andy?
I think Carol Chris is like the best, just the best. She's fantastic. I love the quote that she had about her support of, the athletics and student athletes. I think she's really, as far as chancellors go, she's top notch. She's my favorite by far. I think that what I'm understanding from this is that they covered it with a tremendous giving campaign. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and I think from having a partner in my life that is in the financial giving, especially for the business school at USF, I understand like how important that is to a university. Mm-hmm. And so maybe Carol's gone and taken a lot of strategic initiatives there. I've definitely donated, especially during the pandemic. I donated some of my stimulus check back to Cal, and they're really good. Diana has even mentioned to me how good they are. Like, I don't donate in large amounts, and yet they write me personalized notes from student athletes on the crew team thanking me for my donation. I always donate to crew. The Gary Rogers Endowment, he's a family friend of mine, amazing guy, and love Cal Crew. So I always donate to crew. And yeah, I get these letters from student athletes thanking me for my donations. I get access to special events. Like, I got invited to our signing day press conference and like all these other things. And I'm like this measly old dude that has a podcast with this other guy, it's like, and so they do a really good job of making me feel like very important, which I'm clearly not. So if that's part of the strategy, then I think they're just doing a really strong job. I mean, I don't know, like you 6x university donations. I'm assuming some of that is because of the pandemic, and there's a lot of donors out there that were like, we want you guys to be good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just like looking through Wilner's article, like, apparently it's a 6-year strategic plan that features a step-down model for campus assistance from $25 million currently to a goal of 13.3. Right? So I think the 13.3 number is probably something where the university and the academic side was like, all right, that's a donation that we can manage, like, consistently. Like, that's not overreaching. That's not something that's hard to attain. And we're gonna work our way from there. That's how I read it. But if we're turning a profit in a pandemic, I don't know. I honestly don't know like how to think of this. That also makes me think that if this year wasn't a pandemic year, because this was the first year that the help from the academic side of campus like came in, right? I can't help but wonder, like, if we actually had fans in the stands and like actual real revenue like on game days, would that like in the green number be significantly higher this year?
Well, okay, so here's the interesting piece here too is what Carol says in the piece, which is that basically what was happening with Cal was every year they reported their numbers, they had to report their numbers in a way that made it seem like they were in a tremendous amount of debt. Mm-hmm. And every year so all I would hear from other rival friends of mine that went to rival schools would say, it seems like an awful way to run a university, blah, blah, blah. Are you guys ever going to even have programs? All those type of things. So, and it was just because of the way that we're reporting the numbers. So all she's saying is, hey, we switched that, and it wasn't a good way to budget, and that it unfairly conveyed the sense that what was actually an efficiently and effectively managed department did not know how to handle its resources. Smart, right? Every year, something's being published saying Cal's losing $20 million a year, and they're like, no, it's just how we balance our books, and someone's smart enough to say, okay, let's stop balancing our books that way if it's going to give us a bunch of negative PR. Very smart decision. So whoever that was, great job.
Kudos. Pat yourself on the back.
But I think as far as them getting into the black, I think the big thing I would take away from this is, Wilner's article I don't think does enough to celebrate the fact, like, when you get a 6x increase in support in a fiscal year, that's crazy. So something's working, and kudos to them. It's huge. That's what we want to see.
Yeah. $2.3 million of extra money in the bank.
Now, what's also interesting is football is clearly in the black by like $4.3 million. What?
And that's also without cutting anybody. Like Utah like furloughed their entire like athletics department to like make the money work. We didn't do any of that. At least reporting wise, there was none of that. We didn't fire anyone. No one had to take any pay cuts. Like everyone who was there stayed there. They somehow made it work.
And then basketball, though,
jeez,
they said that it was in the black, but only by a couple $100,000.
Yeah, you skin of your teeth.
Which is weird. I don't totally understand why that would be the case, unless we're paying Mark Fox a lot.
I mean, what?
I don't know.
$8.3 million over 5 years with a $75,000 or is it $75,000 increase in salary every year. I think this year it was like 1.3 or something like that, or 1.6. I don't think we're paying him that much, like in terms of a college basketball coach's salary, but I mean that comes down to people renewing season tickets, right? Like merchandise, all that good stuff, and that's probably significantly lower than it's ever been at Cal.
Oh, has to be.
Yeah,
has to be.
Oh, the headache, which is men's basketball.
Man, I even read Nick's article and everything. I was ready to go.
You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. Give me your.
I'm just gonna paint a hypothetical and kind of like just go there. Yeah. So
all right. So this will actually be our last point of conversation. We're gonna leave this off, but since Andy brought it up, we'll talk about it. Which is Nick's Monday column on Right for California, which is talking about year 2 of Mark Fox, what changed, what stayed the same, and what hope is there for the future. And that's what we talked about. But go and read it. I highly recommend it. But in the meantime, Andy, paint me a picture.
Yeah, so not to spoil anything, but Nick does a tremendous job doing sort of an analysis, year-over-year change, offense, defense, just looking at the numbers, kind of what changed, what didn't, how did it change, what does it mean for the program. So my hypothetical to you is, let's say you hire Justin Wilcox, and Justin Wilcox comes in, and within 2 years, here's the changes that happened. The area that you were hired for was very clearly defense. The defense did not get better.
It actually got worse.
It got worse. So, like, you took over Sonny Dyke's defense, and it got worse. But Sonny Dyke's offense, which was already pretty good, got better. It's not a totally perfect hypothetical.
It's not a like-for-like comparison, but continue,
not
please.
Not a totally one-to-one here, but that's what I'm going for. You're 2 years in. You hired someone to do something. They've improved offensively, but in the area in which their expertise is, they've declined. You're the AD. What do you do?
See, that's the hard part. Like, do you, because okay, let's think about the person aspect of it too, right? Because you hired this guy, right? You're the AD that hired him. Do you give him the extra year because it's your guy that you hired? Like, there is that personal aspect to it. Because the moment you fire him is the moment that you're telling people, hey, I made the wrong hire. But the flip side of that is you're owning up to your mistake quicker and making up for it and righting the ship, right? So I don't know how that direction would go. Like, if I was in those shoes, like, what is it? Because, from a analytics standpoint, or like a game, and you look at the win losses, like that, this season was a fireable offense. Like, let's be clear. It was a fireable offense. But there's a lot of people that are giving him it was COVID this year. He's still playing with Vikings players. Like, give him time to recruit his own players. But he's had 2 recruiting cycles. He has 8 players that he recruited on the team. You know, it's not a full roster change, and people are like, oh, they didn't really have a point guard this year. Well, whose job is it to get a point guard on this team? You know where my thoughts are on this. Like, I would make the change in an instant, you know, and we've been talking about, like, his contract, because I wrote an article about his contract when he first signed it for CGB, and you can go back and look for it on CGB. Just Google it, like CGB Mark Fox contract, and I did a whole breakdown on it, and we were trying to figure out, like, what his buyout would be this year and all that, because, you know, we were, like, looking at Vikings buyout, and there wasn't a buyout. It was a straight $5 million over 5 years, and the buyout was the rest of the contract. So we were like, all right, how much money? Because we still owe another $1 million by 2022 for Viking. Like, can we afford another buyout for another coach? But I guess I was talking to someone through Twitter teams, and we're like, you know, if we really wanted to make this work, we could backload the next coach's contract, where the real money for him doesn't start kicking in until, you know, year 3 or 4. But in the contract, we'll say that we owe you, you know, like 100% of your salary if we were to fire you, you know, by year 2 or year 3. So you could do that. But yeah, you know my thoughts, but I want your takes.
I don't know. After reading the article, I actually kind of shifted away and was like, well, one, Nick writes like year 3 is a given, which I think is actually pretty smart, because I think it is. I think any of the speculation that we have is just that. It's just speculation.
No, I don't think he's getting fired.
Yeah. So it's helpful to have that mindset, but as you read it, I'm like, well, maybe year 3. I don't know. If it was sales and I hired you to come in and lead my sales department, and you like didn't improve the sales at all, in fact it actually got worse, but the product got better because of you, or like, you know, people were happier or something like that, it's like I sort of hired you to do this one thing, though. You know, it's like nice that you did the other stuff, but the one thing that I kind of hired you for, you're not really doing, and it's gotten worse. I mean, sales is like it's tough, maybe tough equivalency, but I still I don't know. I think in that situation, and then is it your guy? Does that, you know, COVID? What is COVID but an excuse or you know, an opportunity to champion, right?
Yeah.
It sort of feels like some people are like, you know, COVID, who could have possibly done it? Other people are like, yeah, COVID, we kicked ass. And it just doesn't seem like there's any middle ground there where it's like, oh, you know, I think you look at everything objectively, and yes, could you have anticipated something like COVID happening? No. But how much impact should it really be having now? Like what we've talked about.
Right.
Like kind of beyond where we should be seeing improvement. That's the big thing for me with basketball. It's just easy to see. Like, it's easy to spot. It's like, are you seeing improvement later in the season? So, like, you look at football, everyone all up in arms. Oh, Wilcox is Dykes with better PR, blah, blah, blah. All right, so you look at the season, what happened? We got better and better and better and better. Every single week we improved. Basketball, we haven't done that. We got somewhat competitive. We got randomly competitive, shooting a lot of threes, and then we played the worst teams in the conference and got whooped. And that to me is like, that's not a team that's on the rise. That's a team that's still figuring out its identity. And is it really okay to be figuring out an identity 2 years into a deal? I don't think so. Identity comes first. It's just like, you just have the perfect example on the football side. Wilcox comes in, he's defensive minded. Comes in, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. That's what he said. And guess what they did? All of those things. Right? Like, okay, cool, awesome. You said you're gonna go do these things, you did all those things, great. Whereas basketball, it's like, we kind of said we were gonna go do these things, but we didn't do those things, and we did some other ones, and we weren't really expecting the other ones, but then we're still kind of like, hey, you said that you were gonna do those things still aren't being done. And that's sort of why I would probably lean towards making the change, because your bet that someone's going to figure shit out in an area of expertise that they really, that's their core strength in year 3, that should have been year 1. And so for me, I go get Dennis Gates.
I think you make the best point here, is that the people that keep saying, oh, it's a COVID year, it's a wipe, it's a COVID year, it's a wipe. And we've talked about this so many times on this podcast, but I will still rephrase nonetheless. I think the COVID stuff definitely affected early on in the season, right? Because you didn't have the normal, ramp up or the normal summer that you normally have with your players. And that was also evident in football, right? You saw our first week, against even the UCLA week, it was just granted, that was a 24-hour turnaround to a new opponent and all that, but just no one looked, physically fit in order to play. And I understand that. And if we lost the first 7 or 8 games in a row, sure, we can toss it up to COVID. But as the season went on, we didn't have any stoppages due to COVID, unlike other teams like ASU or Oregon or heck, even Stanford. They weren't even playing at home. They were playing out in Santa Cruz, right? So, they had more COVID issues to deal with in season. Yet, during the season, they looked to get better and better. Stanford, they might not even make the tourney now, but, they still had a pretty decent year. Yeah. Top half of the conference. So, but with the Bears, it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then we had that little blip of a Utah win, and then it just went worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It just did that. And there was nothing we could do. People were oh yeah, Matt was injured, or, Grant had the appendectomy and he couldn't play. And I was like, you can't link COVID and those injuries together, because injuries happen in any season regardless, right? The injury thing wasn't a direct implication of COVID. If he had gotten COVID and was out, right? Because he had tested positive for 2 or 3 weeks. Sure, that's COVID related, injury. But Matt getting the twist or the sprained ankle on the court, that's a part of the season, right? That's a part of playing a sport. That's it's on court stuff. So I just don't understand how you can link those two things together and say, I point to COVID and I point to Matt getting injured. Those are the two reasons why. I totally understand, and I totally agree that Matt being injured over those 2 week spans weren't great. But at the same time, a lot of people agree that those 2 weeks might be the best basketball that we saw this team play over 2 weeks. So, yeah. So there's just so many things you got to juggle. But all in all, defensive coach, non-existent defense, 8 wins, 3 wins.
The fundamental thing here too is basketball. The contracts that college coaches get are just so stupid, beyond dumb. It's nothing I've ever seen. It mimics the pros, but it doesn't mimic professional world. It can a bit, but it really doesn't. And it's just the fact that a coach that's out of work comes in, gets a 5-year deal worth $8 million, and then you're on the hook for as much as we're on the hook for. Dude, it's for a coach like that, I feel it should be more of a prove yourself type of contract, because there wasn't a proving commodity as much. I mean, it was kind of there with the success at Georgia, but not really. You've made enough good points about that was more of a mirage than what it really was. I don't know. So I think the contract thing is the one thing here where it's yeah, well, damn. For me, it's you're all right, you're an at-will employee. Goodbye. No, it's not actually like that, but that's the business world. But with this, it's just there's such a financial decision that comes along with it. Yeah. This belief that 3 years is all. I will say something that one of my friends said, which is all we can do is hope for the best and hope that we're wrong.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I went back to read some of Nolan's quotes and stuff from Mark Fox's presser and when White King was fired and all that, and one of the things he says is he said he's a firm believer in giving coaches 3 years. I think that's the nail in the coffin in terms of Mark Fox coming back next year. At the same time, he said White King, we had to let White King go because he didn't feel like he could galvanize the fan base. And that's clearly the same here. I guarantee. I mean, you've said this point so many times, which is if we had fans in Haas this year and we had the same win-loss record, my God, the seats would have been empty by the time the season was over. There would have been no one there. So I think that's there, and it's possible. The only reason, we joke around about this is. But we did the numbers. I went back and looked at his contract, and I did the numbers, and what was it? It was and I did the math. I think it's his buyout. If we were to fire him before April 1st, it would end up being 1.2 mil ish. But if we wait until after April 1st, then we'd have to pay out his entire contract for this upcoming season, and then on top of that, he gets a retaining bonus of $500K or something like that in January. So it ends up being a lot more. So who knows? That's why I joked about it, just because they're oh, we turned a $3.2 million profit. Oh, that's just enough to just enough to pay the buyout to get Fox. But I doubt that's happening. So we're in for another year of Fox. I honestly believe, and I think all of us believe. We're in for another year of Fox. So
yeah,
he's got a tough job to do, man, and it's not his fault either. If you're offered an $8 million contract, even if you don't think it's the right fit for you, I think you still take the money that's on the contract. I think you can somehow coerce yourself into believing that this is the right fit for you if there's $8 million on the table.
Yeah, I could do that.
I could easily do that.
Could convince myself into many things.
Convince yourself to be a Stanford fan for 5 years if someone paid you $8 million. I think, would you do it?
No, never.
Would you do it? No, that's the
Not
one
a
thing you
million
wouldn't
years.
do?
No way. I could tell myself, oh yeah, maybe no.
8 years or 5 years?
Because you'd have to stick it out. 1 year of sitting with the chummy Stanford fans. Oh,
once a year, at least once a year.
Gosh, that would just be the worst feeling. I'd be dead inside. Money ain't worth that, folks.
Money ain't worth going to being a Stanford fan. All right. Well, this is a longer pod than I expected it to be. But we have one question before we go on to our victory cannon. The one question comes from Sid. She says, out of the recruits who have Cal in their top choices, who do you want to commit to Cal and why?
Number one, Sid, always appreciate the questions. Keep them coming. Go Bears. Stay strong up there in Oregon.
Who knows? She might be home.
Could be home.
Yeah. Could be home.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Go Bears.
Yeah.
Of the recruits.
I'm looking at the 2020 Cal football recruits. And the high choices right now.
Oh, we're not saying the 20. We're not saying this year's upcoming class.
Yeah. Because she's talking about out of the people who have Cal in their top choices. Who
All right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Who would we want next? Who's our next guy up? I'm looking at 24/7, and their high choices are Gavin Sawchuk, who's a running back from Colorado, a 5-star running back from Colorado, the number 1 running back in the country, by the way. Sebastian Cheeks from Evanston, Illinois, who's an outside linebacker, a 4-star, 14th outside linebacker in the country. Sherrod Coville from Chesapeake, Virginia, safety, from 16th best safety in the country. And DJ Wesolak from Boonville, Missouri, weak side defensive end, 4-star, 13th at his position. Personally, if it was out of those 4 guys, I'd probably take the outside linebacker. I'd probably take Sebastian Cheeks.
Okay.
Just because I think that's the most need for our offense. We need a We need a freaking star at outside linebacker, especially one to pick up the pieces after Coyne, who's kind of playing outside linebacker, and Cam Good have left. I mean, I'd love a 5-star running back, but I think we also have some good running backs in our running back room right now.
Well, this is a tough question. I'm going to go, and I'm going to say the name wrong.
Go for it.
Tavara? Tafiti.
What position does he play and where is he from?
Outside linebacker.
What list are you looking at?
Going for it, man. He's from Hawaii. I love players from Hawaii. Cal, Stanford, Notre Dame, Oregon, UCLA, Vanderbilt, Virginia, and Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Schools that are offered. We're in his top 8.
Yep.
Offered him back in September.
6'3", 222 pounds, 19th best outside linebacker in the country. Number one prospect in the state. Okay.
Yeah.
I can roll with that.
That's a good pick, huh? Kind of surprised you on that one.
Yeah. Another 4, but you and I both picked 4-star outside linebackers.
I know. Great minds.
Yeah.
I also will just take this moment to appreciate that I caught Rob off guard.
You did.
Ka-ching.
You did. You definitely did. I think the low key guy here also for me is Austin Terry, the tight end. His tape's really good, and he's from Washington, 6'5", 230. And I would love to get another tight end into the mix alongside Jermaine Terry and Keleki Latu.
I mean, I know, and then like Justin Martin for me is kind of like the. So excited for him.
Just keep him. Just please keep him. There's been like rumors about like UCLA like trying to go hard after him. After the one kid committed to Texas, the Southern California quarterback. So just keep Justin Martin with Cal, please. I mean, I've heard he's recruiting guys to Cal, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Like if he's the recruiter, then he's like sold on it. But please. All right. That's our only fan question for the day. We end with our victory cannon. No sound effects, so I'm going to just do it with my voice. Andy, do you have something to add to the victory cannon for the week?
Yes.
Ooh, what is it?
I'm incredibly excited this week to announce my victory cannon contribution. There's a show that is perfect for now. It's the show that we deserve and you deserve to have in your life. A show that is about the best of people and the worst of people. Lying, deceit, truth, loyalty, all in one.
WandaVision?
What show am I... Not WandaVision. What show am I talking about? Survivor. Survivor is the best show on television.
Wow.
Right now, Netflix has 2 seasons on. Season 28 and Season 20. I haven't seen Season 20 yet. Please don't spoil it for me. Season 28 is one of the best seasons of television I have ever seen. Watch it. You will not be disappointed. And give it a couple of episodes to build up. The way that the game has evolved and developed over time, I've now gone from watching Season 28 to Season 29, Season 30, Season 31, and I am now on Season 32 in about 2 months. I will be a subscriber of Paramount Plus because I already am a subscriber of CBS Access.
Exactly.
And I can't wait for no ads, baby. There better not be ads on Paramount Plus. Otherwise, I am refunding. So, back to Survivor. It's incredible. It is so watchable, so bingeable, and yes, I will respond to any and all Survivor comments on Twitter. That is my victory cannon for today.
That's a good one, man. We talked about Survivor, and so it's one of those things that just perfectly parlayed its way into the podcast. All right. That's a good one. All right. I got one that's going to take you a little bit by surprise. I don't think you would have expected this from me. But I'm trying to find the tweet right now. So give me a real quick second here. Sweet. All right. So, Andy, what was the month of February?
Black History Month.
Awesome. Do you know what this month is?
St. Patrick's Day. Daylight savings changes.
What is like Black History Month? Like, what is this month?
Wait.
This is a.
No, I know this.
What is March? Tell me what March is.
Spring.
I will spare you the embarrassment. It is Women's History Month.
Oh my god, I knew that.
It's Women's.
It's International Women's Day is coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, coming up real soon. And what I am going to put into the victory cannon is from a former Cal women's basketball player, Alacia Styles, who is out at Maryland now, but of course she's always will be a Bear. She started a brand on her Twitter page, and I'm gonna just read it word for word because I think that's what does it the best. It's this is way out of my comfort zone, but I'll plug myself one time. I started a brand to help support single-parent households and to be the start of something bigger than myself. Check out my website or retweet whichever one of your heart desires. All love with a heart. The website is my own brand, simple.shop. And it's just, there's like these sweaters and t-shirts, all with, like this, it's super clean. And like the shirts say, like, one says I define myself, another one says the grass is greener wherever I am, and there's like a little logo on the shoulder, or what's on the sleeve, and they're like super nice, like pastel tone colors too. That is what I'm gonna put into the victory cannon this year, because I will probably end up buying one for myself, if they have men's sizes, which I think they do. So they have like hoodies, they have t-shirts. Go and take a look. Help support a former Bear and her cause. That's bigger than herself, and for Women's History Month, I think it's perfect.
This is cool.
It's super cool. I ran across it today, and I was like, "This is definitely what I'm putting into the docket."
Yeah, awesome. Really good choice.
Yeah. See, you brought home the Black History Month stuff last week, so I had to bring something of more, stature than an Apple TV Plus TV show.
Don't worry, I went for Survivor.
See, we flipped.
Survivor, Daylight Savings.
Daylight Savings. Spring. I think that was your best answer. Spring. Oh boy. Well, that's it for us. If you have anything you want us to add to the victory cannon, let us know. Tweet at us, email us, DM us, whatever tickles your fancy. In the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at Rob11HWAG. You can find Andy at
Andy J Beast Mode,
and you can find all our stuff on Twitter at Golden Bearcast. You can find all of our written stuff at rightfulcalifornia.com. And I believe that's it. Andy is going on vacation for a couple weeks. So we will be having guests on for the next few weeks. We have a bunch of super cool guests lined up. I am super stoked for the guests lined up over the next few weeks. It's going to be insane. We got basketball, we got soccer, we got more basketball, we got football. It's insane. It's going to be super epic. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's where I'll probably post who our guest of the week is going to be, so that you can ask us questions and any of those sorts. And that's it, right? I think that's it. And as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.